you coming? I guess no kitty today. Okay, friends. So those of you who are joining me in Skyline College class, this is week C, workout B of week C, so our second workout of the week. And our focus this week is on centering. In particular, we're focusing on the adductors of the legs. Those are the muscles that squeeze your inner thighs together. We're also focusing on the idea of centering by using our transversus abdominis to support the belly. This in yoga is called your belly lock. So we're talking about using the belly lock to help lengthen and support that lower back. And we're going to do some deep lunges today. So we're going to use our bricks a little bit. And if you don't have bricks, remember you can use a stack of, like a package of toilet paper or paper towels is about the right size to just have a little bit something to lean on. We're also going to be pressing in and out, so we can use our hands or bricks for that. So we're going to get a deep hip opener today, some low back stretch, and a little bit of love on our shoulders too. That's the plan for today. Let's start by sitting on our mat in your easy pose. Easy for some, not easy for everybody. Someone was asking me recently whether it's bad to tuck your foot underneath here, and it's not bad, but I like to not tuck so that when I lift my hips later, I can just roll onto this shin without rolling one shin onto the other, because that's quite uncomfortable. So that's why I don't actually cross. Ooh, a little foot cramp there. Okay. When I have that little foot cramp early on, it reminds me to drink more water. And it is 70 degrees inside today with almost 70% humidity. So if you are also having a warm day, remember to add more fluids to help your body to recover quickly. That said, let go of all of our worries. Come back down deep into our breath. Feeling that connection with softening the belly to allow the diaphragm to drop down. Big, deep breath. And exhaling, gently contracting the center or belly lock to help press the air all the way out. Big breath in, letting your arms come up. Let your chest and heart float down to the front. And really spread that back out. While
you're folded forward here, go ahead and wiggle your belly a little bit, feeling the difference between a pushing outward with the belly versus a lifting inward with that belly lock. And with an inward lift, we're going to roll back up. Inhaling, stacking your spine from the bottom to the top. Pelvis, vertebrae. When you get up to your shoulders, you're going to pull your shoulders back. So centering the shoulder blades behind you. Drawing your chin up. It's a good rule of thumb to feel like maybe you're making just a little bit of a half of a chin. So that's usually the case that we could use a little bit more lift in with our neck. Big reach across the body. Notice whether your hand is forward or back. We want to line that hand up straight to the side and then arrange your shoulders on that same plane as your hips, just like as if you were pressed back against a wall, both shoulders and both hips on the same plane. Reaching up and over, sliding out to the side. Long body. And let's integrate our breath. We're going to inhale up, exhale over. Keeping it nice and flat. Inhale up, exhale over. We're going to use our breath now to wake up our body. Press the arms down. I am lifting my belly in here, trying to sit up as tall as possible. I invite you to pull your elbows back and press your heart forward. And I want you to feel the feeling of tucking your elbows and your shoulder blades back and down behind you. If you imagine the way that a bird tucks in their wings, that's the feeling we're going for here. Press up. Shoulders are still pressed up. Inhale, pull it down. Hands down to the floor behind you. Press your heart up. Rotate those elbows back. So you're squeezing your elbows back towards each other to keep them aligned. They're really just reaching to the back of the room, shoulders down, and then draw your chin in to rest on your shoulders. Option to press the hips up and open. And that's where it's nice to not have your ankles crossed. Hips down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Go ahead and grab behind your knees. Thighs are nice and close in. When we're doing Navasana, a lot of folks were talking about it being a challenging moment. So it is definitely about your abs here. Even better if you can tuck that pelvis underneath here and extend your legs, and you absolutely can hold on the whole time you're doing Navasana. As long as you're feeling your core doing the work, then your arms can help for sure. That is bus stop A. I guess bus stop A might be here. B, C, D. I'm gonna lift my heart and bring my head back. E. I'm going to put my other foot in. Leaning forward from my lower back. I'm going to swing around. Other side. Inhale, center. Exhale, side. Open up. Inhale, side. Come on up. Circle those shoulders.
Shoulders down and back, elbows in. Place your hands. Lift your heart up and press the earth away with your hands, whether your hips come up or not. Tucking your chin slightly in. Let those hips come back down. Big breath up. And we're going to separate our feet and come down into bound angle pose and just drop your head here and rest. Letting your inner thighs open and your hips feel that even rotation out. All right, just like we did Navasana with our legs together, we're going to do that same setup with our legs in bound angle. So I'm going to tuck my tailbone underneath, and I'm definitely initiating this by pulling my belly in first and then tipping my pelvis back. I'm going to hold on to those ankles. Yeah. And then I'm going to bring my shoulders back and bring my skull back. So I have a lifted chest. You can keep holding on. You'll feel your hip flexors igniting here, your inner thighs. And go ahead and bring your legs together. You can be holding on this whole time. Navasana. Soften those knees. Leave them bent. Lift your pelvis up and over to softly have a forward fold. And let's go ahead and wiggle through our toes. Give yourself a little foot rub. Drawing back up to seated. We're going to tuck ourselves back for a second here and stick out your belly and pull it back in. Yes, I'd like you to pull that belly in and tuck underneath. And then we're going to do the staff pose first. So the idea of the staff pose is to lengthen your legs, really lock those knees, flex the toes, right? So locking the knees, flexing the toes means I'm bringing my toes back towards my face. Yes, super straight legs. I'm going to tighten my abs as much as possible, not pushing out, but pushing in, and I'm going to press my arms into the ground. Now I have a longer torso to arm ratio, meaning that if I'm sitting up tall, I cannot actually touch the ground here, but that is not true of everybody. Lots of people can touch the floor, and some people have longer arms than torsos. So for me, this is a really great place to use a brick, and sometimes it's fun anyway. But our goal here is to have such a great tuck that we get our hips off the ground. So we're going to tighten everything up. We're going to tuck and press and hold with steady breath. And you can use bricks. I'm going to do it with bricks the first time. We'll do it 3 times. Second time I'll do it without, third time with bricks again. Okay. So if I'm using bricks, I'm going to let my fingertips tip off the edge. I'm going to send my elbows back in together. Take a big breath in. Pulling my belly lock up and in. Yes, flexing my toes, locking my thighs tight. I'm going to pull my shoulders down my back and tuck up my hips. Press. 2, 3, 4. And relax back to your forward fold. Remember, soft knees here are always welcome. We want the stretch of your forward fold to happen in the back of your thighs, not behind your knees and not right where your butt starts. All right, second version, I'm going to try without my bricks. Big breath in, exhale, tuck those hips, straighten those legs, and press. 2, 3, 4, 5. Find your breath. Push that floor. And release. Flip those hands over.
So I'm stretching the wrists in the opposite direction.
Last time, your choice, brick or no brick. You can also try fists, but I feel like sometimes that bites with your nails, so it's up to you. Good, release. All right, friends. Go ahead and come to the front and place your knees directly under your hips and your hands under your back. Have a little moment of cat-cow. If your wrists are feeling tired, you can switch to your fists instead. However, I encourage you not to let this become a habit, because wrist comfort in yoga is, even though it feels like a joint pressure thing, the way to get the pressure out of that joint is by strengthening your forearms through this action. Let's go ahead and show me your ta-da! And then squeeze your thumb and pinky knuckles together and draw your fingers in and point your fingers down and feel that flex in your forearm there. Yes, I call these judgy flamingos. Judgy flamingos. So if you're always switching to your fists to avoid discomfort in the back of your wrist, you're not going to gain that strength that is what prevents it in the first place. So even though you can sometimes switch to fists or even spider hands, which is where you're up on your fingertips and thumb tip, the spider hands is in the long run not very healthy for your fingertips because you're hyperextending those knuckles. You really want to get into this nice big flat feeling and feel like your palm is lifting up enough space for a blueberry and your knuckles and fingers are really pressing into your mat. Working on that strength is what's going to help your wrists not have so much pain. That said, a lot of us have, go ahead into your cat-cow, inhaling to flat. A lot of us already have some sorts of multi-use wrist injuries. So if you're in that place, you might have less time that you can spend working on strength before you need to take a break, and that's okay too. All right. If you're feeling a lot of rotator cuff pain, which is right there on the tip of your shoulder, be very aware that rotator cuff pain happens when we, without realizing it, have been shrugging forward our shoulders and trying to do action with a slouch. Yes? So the more that we can think about centering those shoulder blades back, you can practice this on a wall. Watch my shoulder blades come together. Shoulder blades together. You can also do this shoulder blade push-up action on the floor. And that strength back there in your rhomboids and subscapularis is also going to help you prevent rotator cuff injury. All right, nice flat back. So we're going to send a right arm up and a left leg back. Lifting that core. Use your glute to get your leg up, as opposed to using your back to counterbalance, right? That's no abs. I want your abs up and your butt squeezes the leg up and to the center. Good, side down. Inhale, send it across. Radiating the skull and the fingertips away from that back leg. Good, and take it down. Come back to your child's pose. Flip those wrists for your break. Holding those legs together with our centering feeling of the inner thigh. Before we go anywhere else, let's just take a little moment to feel that feeling again. Anything you have around, could be two fists, a brick, a pillow. Give it a squeeze, a fierce, strong, grip on that brick. Squeezing it. Tip the hips backwards. Squeeze that brick, reach your toes behind you, and press up. And tip your hips back, squeeze a brick, squeeze a brick, squeeze a brick. And hands to the floor. Up to your downward dog. Squeezing your brick or your legs together. Go ahead and stand on one leg. Squeezing to that center line. And switch. Returning to your breath. Both feet down, still keeping that tension on the brick. We're going to roll our shoulders back and swing our elbows down towards the mat and lift one hand off. Pressing through the knuckles of the standing arm and switch. Squeeze that brick. And both hands down and walk your feet towards your hands, softening those knees. Go ahead and release that brick and rolling it up. Finding that upright pelvis. Big breath in. We're going to do our sun salutation today through Warrior One. Exhale softly forward. Inhale up halfway. Turning those shoulder blades back towards each other here. Finding your belly lock and lifting it in. Reaching our hands back. A little bit of softness in the knees. Activating the upper back here. And exhale softly down. Really bend those knees, hips to the back, slow motion. Fingertips can touch the floor, your bricks or the mat. And step back with your left leg to high lunge. If you're using bricks or your hands on the mat, they should be on either side of that front ankle. If your bricks or your hands are really forward, you're going to be tempting your body to bring the knee past the toe. So do bring your hands to either side of that ankle. We've got nice straight hips first before we switch our preparation of the back leg from high lunge, where it is right now, to Warrior One. Go ahead and turn the back leg out to 45 degrees from the hip socket. Yeah, from the hip socket, that means your thigh has to move. Thigh moves. It's not all the way a right angle, it's just a little bit. The whole foot is still on the ground. Drop your hips down. Imagine there's a big plane of glass right between your body, yes? And we're gonna bring our inner thigh, and especially our back heel, in towards that plane of glass. So as we swing the thighs together, our hips get squared up, and we come on up to our Warrior One. Find more abdominal strength to bring your lower back upright. Dropping your right hip back and down to square those hips. Option to breathe that circle. Keep feeling your hip engagement. All right, our last one, we're gonna take this inhale up, and our exhale is gonna bring us all the way down to the floor. Legs together, knees down, roll your shoulders back, modified plank, lifting your heart up, Engage the core to find that long pelvis. Elbows back. Chaturanga is when your elbows are by your ribs. Shoulders back, elbows back, stomach's in. Squeeze those elbows in and legs together. And lower down. Lovely. Active upper back, shoulders are down. Make sure we're never coming through with our shoulders up. This is a firm spine lengthening process. Downward dog. Soften those knees for me. And extend and bend. Now in your downward dog, I know everybody's back of the thigh flexibility is really different. So what I want you to do is give yourself permission to bend those knees a little bit, but not give yourself permission to have this position where you look like a house, yeah? Big breath in with me. I want you to bring your heart all the way to your thighs. Walk your hands in, maybe a hand length, bent legs, and put your ribs on your thighs. Reaching your fingertips forward, dropping your head. So I'm really actually like laying my rib cage on my legs, crawling my fingertips out and releasing my skull. My legs are squeezing gently together to keep my balance here. And then I'm going to let my weight shift forward just enough that my hands touch the floor. I'm going to exhale, dropping my head towards my hands. And from there, I attempt to extend my leg. And that is a small version of your downward dog. I can probably reach my hands forward a little bit more, but what I want to make clear is that downward dog should feel like your armpits and chest is opening, and not, it shouldn't feel like you're in a push-up or a plank position on your arms here. The weight should be like 52% back, and that is usually done by softening the knees a bit, yes? So please feel like your head and your heart swing towards those big toes, and your arms are able to rotate down and together. From there, you can swing lefty up. Your glute does the work here, not your back. You can still have that right leg slightly bent. And then you can turn your knee and your hips open here for a different pose, yeah? Or you can keep it closed. Square hips. Go ahead and step through. We're just going to come to our high lunge. High lunge, remember, legs are parallel. Hands are on either side of that foot. And we're going to stack ourselves up. And I'm going to twist my body towards the front. And then I'm going to take my right hand down to the inside of the left leg. And you can put a brick here or find the floor to bring the floor up to you. I'm going to roll and soften this shoulder, yes? So a lot of the time we tend to poke this forward as we're reaching back with our arm, but that's actually not so important. So go ahead and take that arm quite far to the side and spiral with your ribs instead. Still squeezing my thighs to the center, but dropping my hips. Good, good, good. Both hands down. Pushing off the back foot to step together. Relax everything. Inhale, lengthen, radiate up to flat back. Feeling that centering through the core, the thighs, and the shoulder blades. And soften. Take a moment to find your center here in your mountain pose. Tailbones drop down, spine rises between the center of your feet. Feeling your heart beat. And breathing up and in. Exhale, open. Left foot's gonna go back after we do our forward fold and our flat back. Legs together. Notice the weight even on both feet. Lifting up, back, shoulders, thighs. Right leg steps back. Rocking. Find your foundation first. You're going to rotate the right thigh 45 degrees. Boop. You can step it out a few inches. And then we're going to wrap this hip back square to the front. Squeeze our thighs together. If your heel's not all the way down, you can step it a little bit wider to make that happen. Everything's squeezing up. Turning out this thigh and yet pulling the hip forward, right? So it's two different motions. The thigh is opening, the hip is closing back to square. Hip flexors are opening and scoop. Remember the size of this circle with your hands should be relative to your edge. Like where are you comfortably but challengedly working through your warrior one here. We don't want pain in the knee. We do want challenge in the forward thigh. We want to keep our abs engaged. So if we've just lost our abdomen because our leg's too far back, let's slow it down. Bring it a little more narrower so we can keep working through that abdominal strength. Exhaling all the way to the floor. Staying with your center. Change the back leg to high lunge first. Lifting up and through. Center those thighs. Bring your heart forward over your fingertips. Knees down. Check your core. If we're striving in life to do things with a sense of groundedness, purpose, and center, in our practice, we can achieve this by pausing in between and re-engaging our abdomen, our core, so that our spine feels long and spacious. We feel free to be our authentic, tallest, strongest self because we haven't sacrificed that commitment to our own center. Big breath in your downward dog. You can walk that dog. You can bring your hands in and out again if that's what helps you find your own expression of this pose. Rolling our shoulders back. And right leg's gonna go up. Keeping ourselves with our elbows rotated in, our shoulder blades back, our bellies connected. Experiment with opening the hips. And close them again. Returning to our center. And send the leg through. High lunge. Squeezing the center line and pressing into the feet. Yield the hips down. Shoulder blades center, belly centers, thighs together. Spiral the spine from the waist. And tip it forward. I'm trying to get my heart down to the inside of that knee.
Both hands to the front. Back foot is your springboard. Bring your pelvis over your toes. Stepping neatly together. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, soften. Inhale, rise. Take your thumbs to your heartbeat and feel your heart. Notice your balance, closing your eyes, returning to your breath. Sliding your belly button and your spine over the right foot. We're going to drift the left leg up, straight to the front, and grasp it under the thigh. I'm going to pull my shoulders back to stand up tall. I'm going to press this right hip down as I lift the leg up. So we don't want to be lifting the leg and tilting the spine right now. Parallel hips. All right. Gently, it helps if you have a mirror or something to look at, but think about reaching your standing leg knee forward so it bends slightly. Pulling your belly back into the spine and press the floor and take the foot down. I'm going to switch sides. I'm going to turn to the side a little bit. Centering through the core. Bringing my belly button and spine over the left foot, your left foot. Lifting the knee up. Keeping my lifted leg hip pressed down. So I'm actually squeezing my inner thigh to my pelvis. That's how I keep that hip down. Yeah? Because muscles only pull, they don't push. So I have to squeeze my hip into my standing leg. Squeeze my hip into my standing leg. Press into the floor. Being nice and tall. Pulling my abdomen into my spine. And then reaching my knee over my toe. And feel that standing foot. Do you feel more weight on the outside or the inside? That's probably telling you if your knee is wobbling. Good, release. All right, we're going to take that into the eagle. So, vertical spine, shifting our bellies up, lifting up your left leg, crossing it as high as you can over the thigh, and knee and toe are straight forward as we bend. So once I cross it up high, I'm going to sit my butt down behind me, thinking about that right knee reaching forward. Now that almost always leans my chest forward, so then I'm going to take my chest back over my hip, using my tailbone. And my core is in. Top leg is bottom arm. Crossing above the elbow to bend, and then lifting those elbows up. Squeeze everything to your center line for balance. Lengthening the lower back. Release. Be tall. And let it go. Roll it back. Shifting over your other leg, your left leg. Lifting up your right knee with the hips even. Crossing the thigh as high as you can. Sitting down back. Belly, shoulders readjust. Top leg is bottom arm, crossing above the elbow. And lift. Everything squeezes to the center. Unwind.
Big breath. And bring your center over the right leg again. Turn the left leg out to the side. We're going to grab underneath the left knee. Watch that hip. It's going to try and lean you forward and lift your booty up to the back. Drop it down like you're sitting it down. Good, good. I'm going to reach my right arm out, and I'm going to extend this leg. So if it's very tight back here, then I'm going to grab higher up the thigh and extend forward and low. Let me turn my body sideways while you're holding that for bust up A, because from the video perspective, it looks like my leg is out to the side of my body, but it's really on 45-degree angle. Switch, shift, bust up A. See how far forward that leg is? It's not straight forward, but it's definitely on the 45. All right, let's go ahead and do bust up A on the other side. Bust up A is great even if you have a lot of flexibility, because it really allows you to focus on the clarity of your alignment of the standing part of your body. Yeah, so let's all grab the top of the thigh and come to bust up A. Are your hips still even? Is your belly in? Are your shoulders over those hips? Is your standing leg radiating into the ground? Are you rooting down to rise? Pulling your belly in and pulling that hip down into the thigh with that centering feeling. Good. All right. Let's do that again. We can do it a little bit bigger. Knee and toe of your right leg are facing front. Body's lifted up. Bust up A, B. I don't know if I'm ready for more than B. I'm gonna hang out at B. Oh, maybe some C action today. C is the calf. Now notice how this makes my shoulders tip over. I have to find my torso first. Let's stay with C today. Good, bend it, close it, down and switch. Remember, this is still 45-degree angle, even though it looks flat in the video. Hips centered down, open to the side. Okay, A, B, C, D, peace sign, fingers around the big toe is E. Find your bust up. Alignment first. And soften. Close. And down. Lovely. I'm going to turn our knees out to the side, so I'm going to give you a moment if you'd like to change your mat from facing front to rotating to the side. Let's have a check-in. You guys can turn your mats sideways. And this right here, this pose that we're doing is called the spider. Woo. Yeah, so bust up A, B, C, D, E. And this is not a competition. The only reason I ask you is so that I can kind of get a feel for how you guys, what your needs are, and so that you can start to think about and see your own progression over time. Yay! That's great to notice. Like some days, it's not the same as other days. Good, guys. You guys are really thinking about your balance. Yeah, that grip of centering definitely is part of the balance. Feeling your foot on the floor is part of the balance. And remember, we don't want to be locked into the ground. Want to feel like, you know how cats make that like kitten paw feeling? You want to feel like you're reaching into the earth, like you're growing roots out into the ground. Because balance is not about locking and sticking in. Good, good, good. Okay, look. You guys have things in common with each other. I love it when you get to see that you have things in common with each other. Yay, that's great. All right, friends, we're gonna next do a little flow. So hopefully your mats are sideways now. And I'm gonna turn my feet out again. Remember, from the front, it looks like I am totally flat, but I'm absolutely not flat. I'm definitely at sort of a 45-degree angle, not flat, not front. But my knees are gonna be out to the sides. Comfortable wide stance. And I'm going to let my torso wiggle around a little bit here. And we're just gonna practice the feeling of your weight shifting from one leg to the other. And if you'd like to add some soft arms while you're going back and forth, and let yourself look down. Think about that knee reaching over the pointer finger toe. As my weight comes onto this foot, I'm gonna notice, am I on the outside of the foot? That's a balance issue, right? I want to feel like my whole foot is on the floor, from the big toe to the pinky toe. And that happens mostly by us opening the thigh. Respecting where your body wants to go, finding that fluid motion. Good. All right, taking your hands to the inside of your thighs. We're going to push back with arms. So my arms are going to brace to take the weight of my upper body, and I'm going to let that weight push my knees wide. And then I'm going to drop my hips down and under. So now, if I'm really supporting myself through my arms, there's a bit of gentle weighted traction through my spine. My spine feels like it's hanging from my shoulders. And my inner thighs are stretching. Big breath in. Press with your arms, feel even more traction on that spine. And I'm going to twist my body to the right, keeping that left knee braced out over the left foot. If your booty's up in the air, that means you're not hanging your spine yet. So do let it drop down in the middle. Inhale, center, and twist to the other side. Drop your tailbone down to the earth. Your arms are doing the work. Press back up. All right, if you feel a little bit unstable, you can come in another step. Woohoo! Yeah, we want to find the place where our pelvis can be vertical. And what we're going to do next is integrate our horseback riding pose with some breath work. So the horse riding pose is going to be a nice wide stance, and you're going to have that backwards feeling with your arms. So I'm using this part of my body to pull my arm back, and my chest gets a little bit forward, but since I'm using my abs, it doesn't get very far forward. So I'm going to drop down, I'm going to press back with my arms, activating my upper back. Shoulders have to roll down, and then I'm going to use my abdomen to tuck my pubic bone back to vertical. Yeah, so no booties out here, tucked underneath. We're going to stay there for a little bit, adding breath. So I'm going to go in, and then I'm going to exhale out and forward. So before we get into the big wide stance, let's just do the breath for a moment. Yes, you can definitely use a wall for balance, for sure. The wall is an excellent prop. Feel your core stay engaged. All right, we're going to come into our horse riding pose, and we're going to use that breath. It'll start out slow. As we get more fierce, it's gonna speed up, so it's gonna raise your heartbeat and your whole energy level. And we'll do it till we feel a little bit of excitement, and then we'll come out of it. Ready? Find that long spine first, so I'm already engaging and dropping healthily down, keeping my knees wide, pressing back with those hands. Make sure your knees and toes are pointed the same directions. And here we go. Try not to judge the sensations. There are sensations in your legs. Just witness. A little faster now. Come on up. And parallel legs. Take your body down the front and drop your head, neck, and shoulders. And just let that relax. Grabbing the opposite elbow so that your spine can hang and your hamstrings extend. And go ahead and come up on some spiders here. And notice in this wide angle pose that your thighs can be totally relaxed. And if you relax those thighs, you're more likely to feel the outside of your ankles roll out. Yeah? So say this is your hand, this my hand is your foot. If you're feeling the outside of your foot roll out, pressure in the outside of the ankle, more weight on the outside of the foot as opposed to this being your big toe, that is a sign that your adductors are no longer engaged. So you want to bring those thighs back together to support the weight so you're not pressing on the ankles. Yes? So roll on down and let yourself have a moment of rolling out to the side. Maybe it's a nice feeling stretch, but it's not what we want to stretch because eventually that's rolling your ankle in and a sprained ankle. So your thighs do the work to pull you back evenly, big toe to pinky. The balance stays there. It's amazing how it's always this one earring that comes off. All right, so holding your thighs inward, let's notice the difference between if my stance is narrow, so come ahead to just broader than your hips, yeah? And relax the inner thigh. Notice how the weight drifts wider in your feet. Pull that centering together. Find the body lock and notice how your whole foot is on the floor. And then we're gonna roll down in the center and take note of where you can touch the floor. Yeah? Roll yourself back up and step it wider. Re-engage your inner thighs. Use your core to reach your tailbone down and roll on down. Bent knees are fine. And if you straighten your legs, notice how close you get to the floor here. And then one more time out again, same experiment. So you should notice that the further my legs are apart, the closer the ground comes to you when you're in a forward fold in this wide angle pose, but also the more effort it takes to pull those legs back together. So let's come on down in where you feel wide. If you feel like your feet are just gonna slip out, then that's a sign to come back in a little bit here. I'm gonna turn on the angle. Yeah, so I'm engaging my inner thighs here. I'm gonna soften my knees here for a second, really let your hips and your booty just open out, which is an awkward feeling for some of us, but I invite you to let that hip and booty just widen like butterfly wings. Yeah? And softly side to side, opening up the back of the thighs.
All right, we're gonna pull our thighs together, and then our belly lock, our root lock and our belly lock, and then our shoulders pull back, and our chin pulls in to float up. Can you hold flat back here? Inner thighs are squeezing. Soft knees are fine. Reach your tailbone away from your head. Reach your fingers away from each other. And soften the knees to drop down. Go ahead and walk your hands through. So if you have very tight thighs, you're going to stay with more bent knees in this pose, and that's fine. But find whether you need to be a little wider, a little closer together to walk your hands through. And if you feel it all right underneath where your thigh and your butt meet, then soften those knees a little bit so you feel the stretch in the middle of the hamstring, yeah? In the middle of the hamstring, not just right up here where the femur meets either the calf or the hip. And go ahead and walk your hands through a little further. Take a big breath and drop the skull down. And slowly shake your head no. Let some gravity work on that skull. We're going to flip our hands around, point our fingers forward, just like you would in a downward dog. In fact, walk your hands forward. Let's have a wide angle downward dog. Wide angle downward dog. So dropping your heart through your arms. Come maybe one hand's length closer so you feel pretty supported, hands and feet. Engaging those inner thighs, lifting your belly in and your shoulders back. We're going to lift our right arm off and send it all the way back to left leg, big twist. And remove that arm, place it back. Walk forward a little bit forward. Wide angle plank. And lower down, chaturanga, wide angle, chaturanga. And down to the floor. Keeping those legs wide. Come up to the alligator or upward cobra with wide legs. Lifting your core, shoulders pressed down. Make sure we're not here with our shoulders forward. That's going to make those shoulder joints hurt. And back down. Back up to your plank. Pass through your wide angle downward dog. Recenter through the thighs. Find the weight in your right arm. Left arm reaches and then goes across the body through. Spiral that body. Look underneath your left armpit. And reaching it back out. Drop your hips back in space by really bending those knees. And stack back up. Thighs together. Belly button to your spine. Shoulder blades back. Chin into chest. Walk it back center. Lovely. We're going to come on down to the floor, bringing your bricks. And we're going to move through some low lunges here. Yeah? So some days we have more flexibility than others. We know that. But this is a good time to talk about the way that we talk about ourselves and the way that we talk about our bodies. Let's go ahead and get into a right leg front, low lunge. Yeah, right leg front, low lunge. So I'm going to put my lower
My back leg on the floor, nice comfortable pointed foot. This is a very deep lunge. If you have bricks, this is a great time to use them. If you don't have bricks, you know, you can use some spider hands or fists on the ground. If we were in a class in person and you heard someone in the classroom sing about someone else in the classroom, I'm gonna just role play this by myself here. Oh my gosh, that person is so inflexible. Just look at their body. Ew, it's so fat. You would think immediately something about the person who is talking. That person is mean, that person is probably got something sad or angry inside of them, and that they're rude and cruel. And I think that's pretty common, right? Most of us feel that way, that it's not okay to just talk smack about someone else. But we often forget. Go ahead and take your body back here. I'm gonna tuck my back toe, but it's your choice. Pointed back toe or tucked back toe. And big hamstring stretch. We often forget that that also applies when we're just talking silently in our head. And I don't mean that you guys don't know that that's mean. I know you know that that's mean. But when you come to practice with me, I want you to feel safe in this space that I create for us, even when it's virtual. When you come and practice with me, I want you to feel loved, yeah? I love and honor the fact that you're taking care of your body. I believe, honestly, in my heart and soul, that taking care of ourselves makes us kinder to other people. Go ahead and take your opposite arm to the front leg and press your front knee into your hand. So I'm going to be creating action, knee into the hand. Yeah? In other words, let that leg give your hand a big hug and vice versa. So if you're in here practicing, working it out, there's a big challenge. Like I'm asking you to really squeeze that thigh in right now. And maybe you get some negative thoughts in your head. Remember that those negative thoughts, they are just as unkind when we say them about ourselves. Let's go ahead and switch and press out into the world. Make some space in your body to be kind. Go ahead and come back again. Lay down with this leg. So many of us have so many feelings about our body that are just unkind. Make some space in your practice. I invite you to give that leg some love. No matter what you might think about how it performs or how it looks, in this practice, in this yoga space, I want you to practice kindness towards yourself. Hey leg, thank you for being here for me today. Thank you for squeezing. Thank you for pushing. Thank you for being alive. How lucky are we to just be able to walk? Give that leg a hug. And take a deep breath. And release your head. And go ahead and switch to the other side. I invite you to remember, as we're working with our bodies, as they change, as they're different day to day, that we are all human, that we all deserve love, that I love you for showing up today, and that I invite you to practice loving yourself. Especially if it's hard. Approaching our practice with compassion and listening to our bodies as we ask them for more. That's the way that we grow. Come on back. Hamstring stretch. Hey leg. Thanks for letting me practice today. And if talking to your body maybe feels a little weird, totally fair. I invite you to practice it, right? I'm gonna squish in, hugging. My thigh's gonna hug my hand, it's gonna hug my body. I'm gonna hug my torso to the inside of that thigh. Fierce, fierce squeezing. Switch and press it out. Open that thigh into my arm, and my arm's like, no, let's stick it together. How can I make space? More space for heart in my body. More space for compassion in my body. Not just through effort, but also through relaxation, through compassion. Hi, leg. Thank you for letting me walk. Not everybody has two of you. I'm grateful that you're here. Coming forward one more time. And really let that hip stretch. And we're going to come back center. To our bound angle pose. And soften those hip flexors a little bit. Yeah, you might feel them tight now. I'm going to place my feet on the floor. And I'm going to walk my hips side to side. And I want you to notice feeling your hip bones. So if you're really tight, your pelvis might be tucked underneath, in which case your hip bones would, or your sits bones would be poking forward, and you would be sitting on the meat of your buns. So adjust your legs until you can feel the bony part of your pelvis pushing straight down, please. Yeah. And turn to the side. All right, good. And we're going to take our hands as far as we can forward. Yeah, so I'm rocking forward on those sits bones, at least sits bones into the floor, maybe even a little bit forward. And I'm going to take the back of my shoulders. And let's have a little stretch first, yeah? So I'm going to take your left hand across to the opposite shoulder, and I'm going to press with the right hand. So if I'm facing front, it's across here. And this is getting sort of my back deltoid. And I'm going to combine that with opening my inner thighs. Remember, everybody's middle stretch looks very different. You want to stretch your inner thighs where you feel it in the middle, not at the knees, so don't straighten them early. It's really tempting. Not right where your thigh meets your pelvis, but right in the middle is the goal. Let's go ahead and switch arms. Notice what it feels like to move your head around. All right. Row a boat for me. Row. Row. Yes? Oh, look, it's chaturanga. Elbows are in. Yes? Now I'm going to scooch my knees up, and I'm going to let my elbows come out a little bit, but I'm still going to use that upper back and row, pulling my shoulders back. Flaring my hands. Shoulders are down. So the back is fired up here. Good, all right. Hopefully you feel your lats working a lot and in between your shoulders, okay? We're gonna rock back a little bit more. I'm gonna grab one heel, just like happy baby pose. We're gonna make that same feeling. So one side, I'm gonna leave my right side on the floor first here. And I'm going to grab my left side and I'm going to do that rowing sensation. Row. Can you straighten your spine? Maybe that leg, whoo, it's tight. Relax the hips. Let your back do the work. Good. Okay, let's switch them. If your hip flexors squeeze up, just jiggle them out. Let them reset. Rowing left, stretching right. Sitting up as tall as you can. And I am definitely not straightening my legs all the way here. I'm thinking about the alignment of spine instead. Okay. Want to try ball? So I'm grabbing my heels. I'm going to lift my pelvic floor, lift my belly lock, pull my shoulders back to lift my heart. I'm going to rock back just a little bit to find balance. Happy baby pose, seated. Yes, this is already bust up C. Back is working to keep my balance. I am definitely using those lats to pull my shoulders down. Elbows are bent, shoulders are down, stomachs are in. Bring it home. All right. Shake out those hip flexors. All right, this one is definitely an option, you guys, that you can not do. We'll come back and do this again in another week or two, but I'm gonna give you the option to repeat the seated happy baby with bent legs or straight legs, which is what I was just doing, or to do an arm balance. Now remember earlier we did the pizza pie arms with the elbows pointing straight forward. This is that same position of the arms. We're going to put them down under our thighs, right? So I'm doing the same motion, but I'm putting my hands on the floor instead of my butt. It's okay if you try this and fall out of it. Okay, I'm going to turn to the side. I'm going to row the boat. Yes, I'm going to make sure that my hands are only shoulder width apart, pointer fingers are forward, deep contact of my thighs squeezing my elbows. Yes, I'm not relaxed. We're doing that thigh in thing we did earlier. And then I'm going to do a really awkward shuffle of the feet. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Oh, I don't know today, guys. Squeezing my thighs and float. Oof. Oh, shake it out. That's it for today. And we'll come back and work on Firefly again, but I wanted to relate it to your experience of the happy baby seated. Okay, friends, it's time for Shavasana. Go ahead and get cozy. And we will relax. If your bricks are still around today and you want to keep on with this hip opening feeling, you can definitely set the bricks under your knees in Baddha Konasana for relaxation today. Or you can just put your legs down in that normal comfy 20-degree angle and support underneath your thighs, which will help your hip flexors release. That would be a perfectly happy way to have your Shavasana today. 15 to 20 degree angles between your arms and your legs and your torso, allowing your legs to flop wherever they want to flop. Or if you wanted to do Baddha Konasana for your Shavasana today, then you can put your feet together and let those thighs open. But choose a place where you feel like your lower back is relaxing to the floor. We don't want to be in Shavasana with our back arching up. It'll start to really ache. So let your bricks lift your legs as much as is necessary so that you can feel that lower back release. And then we're gonna tuck our shoulder blade wings down and in. Let your thumbs roll out. If you have that temptation to bring your shoulders up, I invite you not to do that, but instead to give your upper pecs and shoulders and deltoids time to unfurl like a little blossom here. Yeah, little sunflower petals. We're gonna close our eyes. Let gravity lengthen and find space in your body. Invite your breath into your body. Make space for gratitude in your body for whatever it is that you did today.
When you're ready, let yourself come back to the room. And bringing your hips and thighs back together and your feet quite close to your buns. Go ahead and give one more squeeze to the center and press those hips up. And gently let it down. And roll to the side. Come on. Yay! Thank you for coming and joining us today. I hope you enjoyed our centering practice, and I hope you remember to bring that gratitude with you everywhere you go. I know a lot of folks have been trying the meditations lately in our class list that I've shared, and I just noticed a lot of folks were saying things like, oh, it took me minutes to be able to quiet down my brain. And that's really okay, you guys. Meditation is also a practice, and the whole physical part of yoga is to sort of set it up. Sometimes it's easier to meditate at the end. So however you're doing, please give yourself a little break and a little credit, okay? Because you're doing great just how you are.